Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator, very much. Senator Begich.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I appreciate the hearing and also welcome back. Thank you for one of the meetings I was allowed, a couple of us freshmen allowed to take the gavel. Don't worry, we're not going to get used to it, but I appreciate the opportunity. To the folks that are here, thank you for attending. I'm not going to go through a long list of a speech here on the whole issue, but I do have questions that I want to ask. So I'm going to ask them in my presentation here so you can start thinking about them. Because I think all of us will have issues and concern. I think Alaska has actually been on the best end of it, if you can call it there as any best end, and that is, I think in Chrysler we had none that were requested to close in dealers. In GM we're not sure yet, but the issue to me is where do we go from here? How do we ensure the long-term growth of the companies are there, if at all? How do you expand the dealerships? Because if the assumption is these companies are to be reorganized and grow, then in theory, dealership growth will occur with it. What are you doing with regards to dealerships? And I can't remember the exact dates, but in June, when they're no longer a authorized dealer and they still have inventory, are there situations that you're going to be able to allow them to extend their time so they can sell off that inventory in order to recoup their costs and investment? Are you doing any mitigation? Just as you would do in a layoff situation or a furlough, you might give a package to the employee. What are you doing for the dealerships to ensure that they have capacity to deal with the transition they may have to make? How do you ensure that the individuals that have warranties in small towns have a place to go to get their work done? Are there ideas that the companies are considering to be even a hybrid of some of these dealerships to make sure that they are warranty dealerships available to communities that may have to go several miles, or in my community could be hundreds of miles to get a vehicle taken care of? To me, those are the issues I'm looking to. What's the forward? I can complain a lot about what happened, where we are, who caused it. The people who are paying the price now are a lot of dealers that are sitting in this room, a lot of employees of those dealerships. I know in my community, dealers are a backbone of a lot of our nonprofit work, our community work. They're the ones you see at the Rotaries, the Lions Club. They're the people out there making the community happen. They're the people that I know as a former mayor we would go to, and they would be the first at the deck, on deck, to help us make a difference in our community. So I'm interested in what you're doing to help this transition, but also how you're going to grow your business to ensure that more dealers in the future exist, but also what mitigation are you going to do to help these folks through this transition, knowing that you would do very similar things for employees when you're doing layoffs. What are you doing in this situation? I have many other questions, but my time is out. That's the questions I'm going to have, so that gives you a little food for thought, again, as we move to the question period. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Begich. Senator Begich.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. McElhaney, can I ask you a question first, and just so I understand, of the GM and Chrysler dealerships, what percentage does your association represent? 50%? Go ahead.
92%, excuse me. Senator, we represent about 92% of the dealers of all brands, both domestic and international.
To the two gentlemen, thank you very much for that. I just want to make sure I was clear on the stats. To the two gentlemen from Chrysler and General Motors, did you ever have any inclination as you developed, and I'll turn to both in regards to the documents that are required by dealers to sign, did you ever have any inclination to work with the association to figure out what's a decent agreement that the dealerships could sign?
Well, let me see if I can't deal with both of the agreements. In the case of the wind-down agreement, as I said, we had done a similar exercise in Canada just recently in our early returns from our dealers who are going to be wound down, and with the appeal process, we think we have a workable approach for those dealers that are going to wind down.
If I can interrupt, I mean, it's kind of a no-choice deal.
It is, but in our judgment, the benefits that are provided in this agreement are vastly superior to the alternatives.
Which is death versus life support.
The alternative is, well, no, sir. In this case, what we're going to provide them is the ability to wind down their franchise through October of next year. So they have plenty of ability to take care of customers, and we provide compensation to them.
Okay, let me ask you that on October of next year. Is that still the same status under the bankruptcy process you're going through today? You will continue to uphold that to 2010, October?
In the case of a dealer that chooses not to sign the wind-down agreement, they won't have a contractual relationship with the new General Motors. And in that case,
So no to them.
expectation that the old General Motors would reject their contract.
Okay.
Senator, can I?
Let me, if I can get from Chrysler, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
We do not have an agreement specifically. What we did for our process for redistribution and for the dealer soft landing is we worked with our dealer council. We worked with a group of other dealers within the company that were intimately familiar with our situation, and we were able to achieve good input, and we then applied it.
Let me, if I can, if I can hold the dealers just for a second. I got to watch my time, but I want to get a couple quick questions in here. With regards to the dealers, as I asked in my opening questions, there's four components, at least what I understand, and I can only tell you this as a former mayor. They're large property owners. Large property owners. So you take care of, to some degree, their inventory, parts, tools, but what happens to the investment on their building as well as their lots, which basically become very obsolete facilities? I mean, I was also 25 years in the real estate business. These are properties that in today's market are going to be very hard for them, and that's where a big sizable amount of their long-term investment is. Do you have any compensation or opportunities for them in that regard to mitigation on any of that front? From either one of you. It's a simple yes or no. It's not a complicated question.
It's a bankruptcy. We have none.
None. Okay. GM?
Yes, we do.
So you have some compensation mitigation for investment that they have in their land and building?
We have 8 months of rent support in our wind-down agreement, sir.
Rent support. Okay. Let me turn to the dealers if I can. You wanted to respond very quickly to either one of you.
Yes, I want to tell you, a small dealership like us, we pay anywhere between $1,200 to $2,300 a month to Chrysler and GM for software to order our parts. We rent signs. I rent signs that are 30 years old. They put new faces on them, but it's like $620 a month. You as a consumer, when you buy that car, it's on the Maroni label for the be delivered to us. Mm-hmm. It doesn't cost them one thing to send us a car. We pay for the advertising. We pay for even the pamphlets that you come in our dealership showroom and take if you want to.
No, I understand that.
Okay. We pay for all that.
Right.
But we do not cost them one penny.
Okay, let me go.
I just want to address the vehicle redistribution plan one more time. Last week, I sent an email to the Southwest Business Center specifically asking for a definite timeline on redistribution. What am I supposed to be doing? What is my plan? The response back was, possibly, we'll try to have a plan by next week. Next week is the last week. We're out of time.
Right. Let me ask it, and again, I'm going to run out of time here. I can feel it. In the timelines that have been granted, the June 12th timeline, if I get that right, is there any opportunity to expand that? Yes or no?
In our case, Senator, no.
Okay. In the parts of the appeal process that they have before June 9th or 12th, whatever that date is, again, on an appeal process, is there any opportunity to extend that beyond the target date when they have to sign?
No.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I have plenty of questions, and I know this, I have to go to another meeting, but I guess two documents I would like to have if they can present them to us. One is, I think, Senator Johans asked the question, and that is in regards to your actual savings that you will achieve, and Chrysler laid that out very in detail. I know I just looked through your testimony, it's kind of scattered through there. I would like a document that actually shows that. And the same thing to GM. I mean, I recognize your issue about $1,000 a car. Whatever. I want to know what you have calculated into the cost factor. The second thing is, Mr. Henderson, you mentioned, or both of you did actually, kind of the process you went through to determine dealerships and some criteria used. And you made a comment, we don't have necessarily a list. You have to have a list. You have to. You just can't say dealer A, dealer B. So I would like, and if you can answer this yes or no, that you can provide this, a list of how, or the list of the dealers in the order of ranking that you made in order of determination who was there at the end of the day and who will not be there. Now, if you say you don't have a list, I will not believe that. There's no way you could do this without a list.
Senator, we have a list, but we've not made it available to anybody because our dealers would prefer to not be identified as to which ones are winding down versus
Well, they're going to be identified in
but they don't want to know today.
Mr. Chairman, I just like to see it, and I'll leave it to the chairman of what the appropriate way to get that. But I think it's important for us to understand, because that seems to be some great conflict here, and how you created the list and who is on the top and who's not. And I think it's fair, because the reality is they're all going to know sooner or later, and we're all going to know, and we're going to come back to you and ask you again.
The senator has made a request for 3 sets of documents. I happen to agree with them. I think they should be produced for this committee, and I'm asking Mr. Press and Mr. Henderson if they will so do.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.